Could the United States be on the brink of a sudden conflict with Iran? What if an attack could come with no warning, potentially in just a few days? In this video, we'll dive into the escalating tensions, explore the possibilities, and uncover what this could mean for global security. Stay with us as we unravel the complexities of this high-stakes situation. The relationship between the United States and Iran is a story marked by decades of distrust, conflict, and fragile diplomacy. To truly grasp the intensity of today's tensions, we must look back at how these two nations have arrived at this critical juncture. The animosity between the US and Iran can be traced back to 1979, a pivotal year when the Iranian Revolution toppled the US-backed Shah and established the Islamic Republic under Ayatollah Khomeini. This event transformed Iran from a close ally to a sworn adversary almost overnight. The ensuing hostage crisis, where 52 American diplomats and citizens were held captive for 444 days, further cemented the deep-seated animosity. Throughout the 1980s, relations remained icy, punctuated by the Iran-Iraq War, during which the US supported Saddam Hussein's Iraq. The infamous Iran-Contra affair, where the Reagan administration secretly facilitated the sale of arms to Iran, only added to the complexity and secrecy that has often defined US-Iran relations. As the years progressed, the primary point of contention shifted to Iran's nuclear ambitions. The early 2000s saw escalating concerns over Iran's nuclear program, with the US and its allies accusing Tehran of pursuing nuclear weapons under the guise of civilian energy production. This led to years of sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and intense negotiations. In 2015, a moment of cautious optimism emerged with the signing of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, commonly known as the Iran nuclear deal. The agreement, reached after years of intense negotiations, saw Iran agree to limit its nuclear activities in exchange for the lifting of crippling economic sanctions. For a brief period, it seemed like a new chapter in US-Iran relations might be possible. However, this fragile détente was shattered in 2018 when the Trump administration unilaterally withdrew from the deal, reimposing sanctions on Iran and reigniting tensions. The move was met with defiance from Tehran, which gradually began to scale back its commitments under the deal, bringing the two nations back to a path of confrontation. The situation took a dangerous turn in January 2020, when a US drone strike killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, a key architect of Iran's regional strategy, near Baghdad International Airport. This assassination sparked a new wave of hostility, with Iran vowing revenge and the US bracing for retaliation. Since then, relations have remained on a knife edge, with both sides engaging in a dangerous game of brinkmanship. The deep-seated mistrust, coupled with the strategic importance of the Middle East, has created a volatile situation where any miscalculation could lead to a full-blown conflict. As we stand at the precipice of what could be another major escalation, the history of US-Iran relations reminds us that this is a conflict decades in the making, fueled by a complex web of historical grievances, strategic interests, and ideological differences. In recent weeks, tensions between the US and Iran have sharply escalated, bringing the two nations closer to conflict than they've been in years. This crisis is the result of a series of provocative actions and strategic maneuvers. In July, US intelligence detected unusual military activity in Iran, including the movement of missiles that could threaten US forces and allies. In response, the US deployed additional naval assets to the Persian Gulf as a deterrent. Hostilities have intensified, with both sides issuing warnings and preparing for potential confrontation. Intelligence suggests Iran may be planning a preemptive strike on US military bases, leading to heightened alerts across the region. The US has also increased cyber operations against Iran, further escalating tensions. The volatile situation, compounded by the involvement of other regional powers like Israel and Saudi Arabia, could easily spiral into a broader conflict. As the situation unfolds, the world watches anxiously, aware that a single misstep could lead to a war. As tensions between the United States and Iran continue to escalate, the possibility of an imminent attack looms larger than ever. US intelligence agencies have warned that an Iranian strike could come without warning, potentially within the next few days. But what exactly would such an attack look like, and why is the threat so concerning? The Iranian military, particularly the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps or IRGC, has a wide array of options at its disposal. One of the most immediate threats comes from Iran's extensive missile arsenal. Iran possesses a diverse range of ballistic missiles, some of which have the capability to strike US bases in Iraq, Syria, and the Persian Gulf region. These missiles can be launched from mobile platforms, making them difficult to detect and preempt. Given the speed at which these missiles can be deployed, US forces in the region could have very little time to react, leading to potentially devastating consequences. Another significant concern is the possibility of asymmetric warfare, where Iran could leverage its network of proxy forces across the Middle East. Groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and various Shia militias in Iraq and Syria are all aligned with Tehran and have a history of carrying out attacks on US and allied targets. These groups could be activated to strike simultaneously, creating multiple fronts and overwhelming US defenses. This kind of multi-pronged attack would not only be challenging to counter, but could also draw in other regional powers, escalating the conflict further. Cyber warfare is another tool in Iran's arsenal. Over the past decades, Iran has developed significant cyber capabilities, which it could use to disrupt US military operations or critical infrastructure. In the event of an attack, we could see cyber attacks on power grids, communication networks, or financial systems, both in the Middle East and potentially within the US itself. These cyber strikes could create chaos and confusion, making it harder for the US to mount an effective response. But the threat isn't limited to the Middle East. Iran could also target US allies, particularly Israel and Saudi Arabia, both of which are within striking distance of Iranian missiles. Israel in particular has expressed concerns about Iran's growing missile capabilities and the potential for a surprise attack. The Israeli military has been on high alert, conducting drills and preparing for the possibility of an Iranian strike. Saudi Arabia, too, has faced missile and drone attacks from Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen and could be a target in a broader conflict. The unpredictability of the situation is what makes it so dangerous. Unlike conventional warfare, where there might be signs of an impending attack, the nature of the current threat is such that it could materialize suddenly with little or no warning. This has led US commanders to adopt a heightened state of readiness, with troops and assets in the region on alert for any signs of an impending strike. In essence, the possibility of an imminent attack is not just a hypothetical scenario, it's a very real danger that US forces, allies, and even civilians could face in the coming days. The combination of missile threats, proxy forces, cyber warfare, and the broader regional dynamics make this a highly volatile situation where a single misstep could lead to a rapid escalation into a full-blown conflict. A conflict between the United States and Iran would have global ramifications far beyond the Middle East, affecting the world's economy, security, and diplomacy for years to come. One of the most immediate impacts would be on the global energy supply, as Iran could disrupt the flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz, causing a spike in oil prices and economic turmoil, particularly in Asia and Europe. This could lead to market volatility, with safe haven assets surging while riskier ones plummet. Beyond the economic impact, the conflict could escalate into a broader war involving regional powers like Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, and even draw in global powers such as Russia and China, increasing the risk of a geopolitical crisis. The humanitarian consequences would be severe, with widespread destruction, loss of life, and potential refugee crisis, the international community would struggle to provide aid, further straining resources and global institutions. Ultimately, a US-Iran conflict would have a profound and far-reaching consequences, making it a scenario that the world must be prepared for, even though no one desires it. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you like this video, click the next one shown on the screen. Thanks for watching.